Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I rank the worst insert cards for basketball in 1992-93. When I was putting together this video, I got a little bit nervous as I was going through because I was noticing that, man, the basketball cards, there were very few that really came through as not very good. That's not to say there weren't any cards that weren't very good. There were a couple of them that were easy to put onto the list, but originally I was getting nervous about how I would fill out 5 and 6. And as I spent more time, I discovered the cards that were basically just hiding in plain sight because of the fact that I was overly optimistic about them. And so that ended up providing me with actually 2 different honorable mentions. So that meant that I went from trying to figure out 2 to ending up with 3. And all 3 of those do suffer from the same quality, which is kind of interesting, although they approach it from different sides. The first honorable mention, is the Upper Deck All-NBA. This is a card that it's very blocky. When I originally saw it back in the day, I was not very impressed with it. And I never really thought much about it, but I eventually collected the cards, and with time, I developed a pretty strong appreciation for it, or I guess I should say respect. And so as I was putting this video together, all of those initial things that I noticed early on but never really thought about, those kind of rushed forward, and I realized, oh yeah, it's just not a great card, and I've always known that. The blockiness is really the key. There's nothing at the bottom of the card that really holds up very well. I do like the gold foil, and for that matter, the silver foil. I like the way that the foil comes through. The thing that saves this card is the foil up at the top. That's the only thing that makes the card work. Otherwise, the card that Upper Deck like to do that little strip down at the bottom in this year, and they usually succeeded, but in this case, I just think that it really didn't work out well. The big issue that the card has is while it does have the shininess that helps out the card, it doesn't really have any endearing quality about it. There's nothing about the card itself that really jumps out and grabs you. So it's an underwhelming card. And it's a card that's always underwhelmed me, and I've had to think more positively in order to make it work. But at the end of the day, it doesn't work. And that's interesting because it's basically the opposite with the foreign exchange cards, also by Upper Deck, where with these cards, I didn't know about these early on. When I discovered the cards, I went, oh wow, these are really cool. And the whole thing about the cards is twofold. One, they tend to have really good images. And the beauty of it is that if you have a full bleed card, you need to have great images. And they really tended to do that with this set. The cards just come through so well. I like the logo, the bright colors of the logo. I think that works really well. The problem is you don't really see the logo too often. And even when you do, the logo doesn't make anything distinct about the card. So while it does have a great image, it's not a great card. And I look at the image and then I get kind of bored with it pretty quickly. That's the problem that this card has. It has no staying power. With the All-NBA, that's a card that you'll notice it in a display case, not too well, but you will notice it. With this card, you don't. It's a card where you have to give it a second. When you do, it's wonderful, and then you get bored with it real fast. But the biggest distinction between these 2 cards is the fact that when you're done looking at the All-NBA card, it kind of lingers in your mind a little bit. When you're done with the foreign exchange cards, it doesn't linger at all. You forget about it right away. So both of these cards are really close to being a good card. They're missing a couple of things. And if you blend the 2 cards together, you could have a great card. They didn't blend them together, so you don't have a great card. Pure and simple. But moving on from the honorable mentions, at number 5, I've got kind of the same thing with Skybox with their Thunder and Lightning cards. Now the Thunder and Lightning cards it's a great concept, and I like the concept. In fact, ironically, I think that the football cards work better. I'm not sure why. It may just be my fond memories of having the football cards for years, whereas with these, I never collected these. And so I may be looking at these fresh with more judgment. That's quite possibly the case, but at any rate, these cards don't really hold up too well for me for a couple of reasons. One, they use a chrome approach to the card that is kind of mirror-like. And the problem with mirror-like effects on cards is the fact that you got to get the light right for it to work. It's a cool effect, but it's a gimmick. And if the gimmick holds, that's good. If the gimmick doesn't hold, it's not going to work well. And for me, I hate these cards because photographing them is a nightmare. You have to have light head on, and that's where the camera is. So I have such a tough time at all allowing you to see what these cards look like. It's really unfortunate. And on top of that, they have small images of the players where most of the card is given up to kind of an effect that, again, if you get the light right, it looks pretty cool. But if you don't get the light right, it's just a waste of time. It's too much of a focused effect. That's what it comes down to. It doesn't have any holding power. So this is a card that is underwhelming to me because I look at it and I go, oh, that's a cool idea, until I look at the card and then I go, okay, well, it's a good idea. It's not a good card. So that's where I go with that. But when I move on to number 4, I'm going back to Upper Deck, and here we have the award winner holograms. And I was not a fan of the 91 holograms in basketball for the simple reason that twofold. One, it didn't have a card design on it. And two, you got to get the light right to see anything. The rest of the time you don't see anything. Well, they solved both of those problems. First off, they did put a design on the card, which is good. So that means that there's a design element that holds with the card. I don't think it's a good design itself. It doesn't integrate into the card, but at least they tried. But it also kind of detracts because now it's kind of blocky, I guess you could say, but it also cuts into the overall picture. And the other problem was the fact that in 91, you had really good detailing if you got the light right, but most of the time you couldn't see it. Well, in 92, you can usually see this hologram even when the light's not right, but you don't get the richness of the image. And so it's a mixed bag. In football, they did a better job in both 91 and 92 because they got rid of the background and they created a background that they could more easily build a quality card with. So both holograms in football, 91 and 92, read well. In the case of basketball, they had images back there, and images can be really tough to work with. And in neither case did they really master it. So this is a card I look at and I go, okay. I mean, I'm glad they tried, but I don't think they succeeded with it. And it's unfortunate. Number 3, we're moving over to tops, and now we're moving into the true comfortable, these are definitely the top 3 or bottom 3, however you want to look at it. With the Topps Stadium Club Beam Team cards, this is one of the ultimate all-time overrated cards. This is not a good card. It's just not. Now, it is a super bright, shiny object, and I've always liked that about it. But the thing is that you get wowed by that effect, but you don't look at the card, and the card's just kind of ugly. It's a picture in the middle, fine. And then they basically pasted these two things on the side. And there's no integration at all. I mean, absolutely no integration. And that's the problem the cards have. I think it was in 2008 when they did a retro version that I thought actually worked a little bit better. But in this case, it just feels pasted on. Now, I do love the effect. I wish the effect had integrated into the card in some way. Anyway, it would have been really nice. But they didn't. But this is a card that it's always had a wow factor, especially in 1992. I mean, in 92, there were no complaints about this because it really was state-of-the-art, cutting edge. You got lasers and you got neon lights, all of that designed into the card. But that Windows pipes screensaver effect that they have on the outside is cool to an extent, but then the card itself just becomes a blocky mess. This is not a card to spend time studying. This is a card to go, oh, cool, and put it away. If there was one card that I would say is justified putting in a slab and locking away somewhere, this definitely fits into that category. There's just nothing endearing about it. Now, it is weird that I have it at 3 because the two cards I'm going to be looking at next are both better. Starting with the Topps Beam Team cards. So Stadium Club Beam Team, Topps Beam Team, they did something similar with the different approaches. So you have the Stadium Club version, and now you have the Topps version. And the Topps card is much, 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 much better card. It really is. It's well crafted. I like the way the colors are. Everything about the card is integrated in. All of that is wonderful. except it's boring, really boring. Boring is never something you're going to say about the Stadium Club Beam Team cards. It's almost overly exciting to a fault. In the case of the regular Topps release, these cards I look at and I go, man, I wish that they had, I don't know, gold foil or anything. It needs something. And again, it looks really nice. It's well crafted, but it's boring. I did not know about these cards in 1992 and 93 when I was collecting these cards, and yet I might have, I'm not sure. I didn't really notice these until I got the gold set, and there they were. Or were they in the gold set? I might have collected them separately, but however they came, when I got the gold cards, that's the set I collected. And I was aware that they had non-gold versions, but I never collected those till, I don't know, 10 years ago maybe? And I had to remind myself to collect them. That's the thing. You look at them and you go, is that part of the set? No, that's the insert. I'm not a fan. But again, it's a better made card. And then we go up to an even better made card at number 1 on this list, which is the David Robinson Admiral card set, which is really nice. These are well-designed cards. They have good images. The colors are really great. The proportions, all of that. The information on the back. I love everything about this card set, except for the fact that it is a card set, and it doesn't feel like it. To me, this feels like a magazine insert. Whenever I look at these cards, I just go, wait, did that get pulled out of a Skybox card pack? It doesn't seem like it. I would like to see these with Sports Illustrated Kids or something like that. That's where I want to see these cards, because that's where I feel that the cards fit. If this was a gateway drug card set for kids collecting something kids related, and they got these Skybox cards and went, oh cool, I have sports cards, I want to go buy sports cards. If they'd done that, I think it would have been perfect. But for collecting it out of, and in NBA Hoops it might have fit. Hoops was kind of the place for this to work, but in Skybox, you open up a pack of Skybox to get this card out of here, you got the Thunder of Lightning, and then you got this card. I don't like where this card was situated. That's the problem. It is in a place where it needs to read in a different way. And yeah, it feels different. So that's why I have it at number 1. I do think it's better than the number 2, the Topps Stadium Club, the Topps card, better than the Stadium Club. I think it's better than the award winners as well. But unfortunately, it just doesn't have the spirit of a sports card. That's where I draw the line. So that's where I put the list. And the bottom 3, I can intermix those frequently. In fact, when I do my overall look of the worst insert cards of 1992, I might even skip over the Admiral cards and just focus on the 2 Beam Team cards. I may just do that. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But I do have hockey to do before I get to that, so we'll see where I get with hockey. But at any rate, this is the list that, as I've put it together, and I've explained to you why I have things where I have them. How does this read with you? That's one of the interesting things for me, is as I do this, I'm talking about my own take on cards, and I really don't hear a lot from people about how the cards read to them. I know that it's kind of a unique way that I look at it, but I am really curious about that. So definitely let me know in the comments below about that. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and thank you very much for watching.